seems that envy is my sin.
Oh, what's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of What's in the Box. I'm your host, DeathMetalHero, and with me today is Irene Draws. How are you, Irene?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am super excited to have Fiendish in my hands. And you know how I knew it was Fiendish? There's this, this tape on the outside that makes it very convenient to figure out who I need to contact so I can do this show. So thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yay.
And thanks for coming to hang out. So I'm super excited to dive into this. So
thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I know you're super busy working on the new book and doing a bunch of different streams and doing variant covers for Frog G and a myriad of other things. So appreciate you taking the time to come hang out.
Oh, of course. Always happy to.
Let's say hi to the chat. Okay. What's up, Shadowhawk? He says, hail DMH and the chat. Good to see you, Shadowhawk. Yeah. What up, Alex? Good to see you. What's up, Flying Feline? Good to see you, beautiful. Hang on. I have something for this. So, I went to the store, had to grab some beer. They didn't have my usual, so I grabbed this one. This is a new Dragon's Milk. I don't know if you've ever tried Dragon's Milk.
I have. It's actually
so
not
good.
my thing. I usually don't like dark, Guinness-y beer.
Right, the stouts.
I can see why people... Yeah, I'm not really... It's not bad, but I'm just not a stout fan.
Yeah, this one, the other one is like a bourbon barrel aged stout, and this is an oak barrel aged stout, Solera. So I'm gonna give this a shot. So
okay, maybe I should try. I wonder if there's a difference between different stouts. I don't know. I should experiment more.
Maybe try a porter.
Yeah, maybe.
Actually, Feline would know. She's quite well versed in beers and brews, especially mead. So, Skull, beautiful. Thank you for coming to hang out, Feline. Good to see you. Ooh, all right. If you didn't like the other Dragon's Milk, the super dark one, go check this one out. The Solera. It's a little bit lighter in color. I don't know if you can see it. If I hold it up to the light here, so it's kind of more reddish than it is, thick Guinnessy. So. That one might be one to check out.
Cool.
Yeah, so,
I will check it out.
I enjoys me beer.
Actually, plan to get stock up on alcohol again. I'm out of alcohol. I have some whiskey, but it's for special occasions. There's a drive-through package store near me, which I love. So I'm actually planning on going right after the show.
After I'm done here, I'm gonna go hit the drive-through liquor store.
Yeah.
Get geared up for the weekend. That's for sure.
Yes, exactly.
Let's see. What's up, Jav Styler?
Hi.
Welcome. Good to see you guys. Thanks for coming to hang out. There's the Frog G. What's going on, man? Thank you for coming to hang out, brother. Yeah, Frog G has been apparently removed from IGG for some reason.
I saw that.
It's absolutely bizarre. It must have been the cleavage that did it, and the holding of one's own head. I mean, there's been worse stuff on that platform. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Alex VRB says, I rarely met a stout or porter I don't like. There's a few that are too sweet for me, but otherwise, yum. Sours are excellent too. I'm not super sold on the sours yet. I'm not so sure that wasn't a trend started by somebody that was trying to, sell, just skunky beer, and was trying to play upon the, the hipsters and their desire to have funky different beers. So I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but so far I'm not sold on the sours. Anyway, yeah. What's up, Kevlar? Good to see you. Thank you guys for coming to hang out. So I'm fairly certain everybody in the audience knows exactly who you are, but, for the person that might be watching this on the replay, just coming across this later, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody who you are and kind of what got you started down this path to self-publishing?
Oh, well, I'm just a weirdo from Taiwan who likes to draw comics, and so that's what I kept on doing, and now I'm here drawing my comic.
See, I love that. Perfectly succinct. That's great.
Yeah. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
Hello, good stuff.
Feline says, I had a creme brulee stout the other day that was probably one of the worst beers I've ever had. Yeah, she messaged me about that.
Oh, jeez.
You know, you gotta watch the funny aftertaste. Sometimes those beers get, you know.
Yeah.
Can't. It's not all that enjoyable if it doesn't end on a high note. If it ends weirdly, then that's all you remember. You know, it may taste great at the beginning, but if it has this weird note at the end, then you know, not as an enjoyable of an experience, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I'm picky with my beers, and I think that tends to be a problem with darker beers more. Maybe I just have some bad experiences.
Sure. I mean, that's the reason why I stay away from vodka for the most part.
I don't like vodka either, so high five.
I can't drink any. If I try to drink vodka that's not like top shelf vodka, my stomach will just turn.
Oh, geez.
Like I get like instant heartburn, and I don't know what it is. I think I burnt myself out on cheap vodka when I was in high school, so I can't drink it anymore. You know? Yeah, I'm not a fan of
like some other light liquors I like. You know, there's a lot of other light liquors. With vodka, it's not even that it just gets me drunk very quickly, but it like makes me really sleepy right away, and that's just boring.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just everybody's different.
Yeah, I mean tequila for another example. I mean some people tequila hits them real hard, and other people it's just, you know, you can continue partying all night. And it's very, very weird. Bourbon is where it's at, says good stuff. I can go with that. I enjoy bourbon. I'm a bit more of a Scotch person myself, though. You know, I do enjoy my monkey shoulder. Quite tasty. Fucking smooth.
Yes.
Yes, quite smooth. Yeah, Scotch is. See, I used to be just, you know, Jameson Irish whiskey. I do enjoy my Irish whiskey still, but the Scotch. Oh, Scotch just seems to be a nice, comfy home, if you know what I mean.
I know what you
delicious.
mean. Yes.
I've rarely found a booze that I don't like, says Feline.
Well.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, and you've tried a lot of booze too, being a bartender and in the service industry like you have been. So, yeah. What's up, Guapo? How you doing, Eric? Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Aw. So you're in full tilt on promoting the new book. What else are you doing? Do you get to do anything fun, or is it all work now? Like, do you get to read anything? I ask this of all my guests.
I normally usually, let's see. I don't read a lot of comics anymore. I'll probably read like a couple of things every year. Usually, I like to just read things all in one go. So I'll find something that's complete, and I'll just sit down for like 3 days straight and read it. And I usually only read a couple series a year because I'm really picky. I have to make sure everyone says it's good first, and it's something that I like. I think the only ongoing thing that I'm keeping up with is Vinland Saga and Berserk.
Okay, I've heard of Finland Saga. Before I left the shop, they had just gotten in some of that. And I just picked up the first omnibus of Berserk.
You would like both of those.
That's what I've heard about Berserk.
Yeah, Berserk and Vinland Saga, both of those. Like, I think it would be right down your alley.
Excellent.
Yeah, like you know, obviously action, more seinen type mangas, but both are like. It's not just that they're really dark and violent, which, you know, I like that aesthetic. It's just fun, but also they're both very, very philosophical stories when it comes down to it, which is why they're so popular. It's not just that they're edgy.
See, that's what I've always heard about Berserk. You know, the surface of Berserk is very much like the fighting, the gore, the I don't know, the inhumanity of it all. But underneath all of that, there is this underlying philosophical nature to the story.
Definitely. So. And you can tell both of the writers are very well read, and both of them reference a lot of Western philosophy and Western media as well, which I find very interesting. I love seeing this sort of back and forth, like media and influences bouncing between East and West. I see the same with the My Hero Academia creator. He obviously loves Western media, and he's a big fan of superheroes and Star Wars, and he references it all the time in his manga.
Well,
But,
I mean, why limit yourself to one pool? You know, why limit yourself from the stuff that you can read, you can pull from? I mean, that's part of being a well-read, creator. I mean, if you're going to be a writer and a creator, you have to be, well-read. You got to be diversified in what you read, so you know what's out there. One, and two, so you can, know that you're writing something different. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so, and it's not even a criticism that I think a lot of people don't do that. It's just I like seeing it, especially because I kind of grew up between cultures, and I remember when I first moved to the States, there was such an aversion to manga, and it's changed so much. It's kind of wild how much it changed and how fast. So
yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, when I was a kid, you had the Americanized versions of manga. You had Battle Angel Alita being put out by Dark Horse. You had Epic putting out Appleseed. But I mean, those are the Americanized versions. So they're they rearranged the pages, so the art flow is not necessarily the same. If something is that's one thing I've noticed so far is that there's a distinct story flow that if you try to reverse that, it doesn't quite work as well. I don't know. At least it didn't in some of those older ones.
Oh, that's so weird. I mean, I kind of get it, but it also annoys me because I don't know what the American perspective is. Is it that weird to read something in a different way? I guess it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else for those of us that don't really, that don't interact with media outside of the U.S. Yeah, reading something in a different direction, it's a bit jarring at first, but once you get used to it, it's it's just like reading in any other direction. You just got to remember which direction you're going.
Well, I have words for. Oh, continue.
No, just I was going to say, being my age and having read comics in the direction that I have for as long as I have, it's a bit more jarring, and it takes a bit more getting used to. But the artwork is beautiful. I mean, I picked up H.P. Lovecraft's The Mountains of Madness 1 and 2 that they did. Dark Horse put out in this little manga size. But go ahead. You were going to say you have words. What?
Oh, I was just going to say I have words for American media companies Americanizing Japanese, or just like especially Japanese stuff, but just any like foreign media. But the problem is mostly like I grew up with manga and anime, so I just like all the horror stories, how they most famously I remember, and I love this story, was when Miyazaki's Nausicaa first came to the US. Whichever flippin' company was, I assume swearing is fine on your show.
Oh yeah. Did you catch the parental advisory and the contains adult content at the beginning?
Oh yeah, whichever piece of shit fucking company decided to adapt Miyazaki's Nausicaa in America, change the cover to like this male hero and completely repainted it, looked nothing like the anime style. They cut up the whole film, they changed everything, and Miyazaki's response was to send a samurai sword to the company with the note no cuts.
I remember that.
And I just fucking love that so much.
Yeah. So that's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. No cuts.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like all the terrible Western adaptations of anime, and Alita was the only good one, but they butchered Death and they butchered Ghost in the Shell. It is just, I'm just so done. I'm not even mad about it. I just ignore it. I'm like, these aren't even, it just doesn't matter to me anymore. They don't understand the soul of the work. They don't have respect for the original. No,
they don't. They see a popular product, they see a popular name, a popular IP, and so they're going to jump on it and they're going to try to, cannibalize it like they've done to all the Cape shit over here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's American corporatized entertainment in general. They do it to even domestic media.
Yep. This is why we need to continue to make new things and create independent avenues of entertainment. The way that can't be done. You know?
You're right. That's why we're here. That's why we're making new IPs.
That is correct. Better to make something new than, playing a tainted sandbox where you have no freedom, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
it's,
full creative control.
Yeah, corporatized entertainment is just, I mean, I worked in it. It's kind of a horror show. I don't know. It's strange when I think a lot of people who just don't understand what goes on behind the scenes, still have they still think Disney has this sort of magic to their name, but I've seen it up close. It's so weird how when you worked in entertainment in Hollywood, it's the complete opposite of what they pass themselves off to be. Disney passes itself off to be family friendly and all about dreams and fantasy, but it's completely, there's nothing about that underneath it. And when you look at it, right, it's all for the camera. It's not even just for profit. It's like the things that, because I'm a proud capitalist, but what the things they engage in, it's like how Disney steals IPs and they screw over small creators all the time, and a lot of things they do are all the cheap reboots. I think there should be a balance between profit and art, and in the long run. And how Disney cannibalizes smaller entertainment companies like Pixar and then just ruins them and waters it down. There's just no soul to it anymore. Right,
they should not be able to influence those smaller companies. It shouldn't be allowed to buy them and consume them.
Yeah. It's this sort of a weird this landscape where it's not even just capitalism anymore. It's crony capitalism. It's not about fair competition. So anyways, I'm going to get off my soapbox about this.
But this is the reality that we deal with, though. That's the thing. This is the reality that we are living with. These IPs have been co-opted by people that don't care about the creation itself. They don't care about the story itself. They don't care about the spirit of the project itself. What they care about is taking the IP that people recognize and will throw money at, and then injecting it with their own whatever, their own agenda, and then making people accept it. And if you don't, then you are told that you're bad in every way imaginable. This is the reality that we have to deal with, unfortunately, which is why we create new shit.
Yeah.
New awesomeness.
Yeah, you're right. It's for example, the new Star Wars movies, they're just even without the political agenda that's in a lot of these reboots and stuff, even beyond that, a lot of these stories are just subpar, and I think it's safe to say that without the name and of Star Wars and all these Marvel characters and Lord of the Rings, without the giants that these franchises and reboots are built upon, none of these things would be making that much money. So it just is kind of like it does.
That's why they
slowly growing. Yeah, exactly. I'm slowly just growing jaded to it, but it just disgusts me when people will say, "Well, yeah, look at all the fans of these movies and." The new Star Wars movie is made to inspire young girls, and look at all these pictures of young girls in Rey costumes. I'm like, the only reason so many people saw those movies was because of the original trilogy and the original franchise was that good. And just because a lot of people saw it and it was powered by this giant corporation and marketing machine doesn't mean that we can't criticize it and say that it could have been better.
Especially when the originals, story-wise, not even taking into account nostalgia, not even taking into account the time that it's had to become a cult favorite. But if you analyze it by story, objectively, the originals, while not perfect, are light years beyond what Disney crapped out as Star Wars. Just story structure, characters, acting, just everything. It's, I don't know. Yeah, it's sad that that all of our stuff has been co-opted. But you know, would we have the impetus to create new as fiercely as we are now if our stuff hadn't been co-opted? Pushed out of our comfort zone?
I think I would, but I think there are other people, because I have other motivations.
Right.
I've always wanted to do this, but
yes.
Like I know of a lot of other creators, especially in the indies, a lot of people in Comixgate, where they would still be creators, but they wouldn't be independent if it wasn't for sort of established entertainment companies and traditional routes to create media and entertainment being co-opted and sort of being watered down and kind of being full of honestly cultural discrimination as well that I think a lot of people are increasingly uncomfortable with. So yeah, I think the independence is something that is being pushed, like that's a direct reaction to the mainstream being kind of becoming this gross amalgamation of, I don't know, a soulless monster.
Yeah. I mean, corporations have always been soulless. They did a lot better covering it with a veneer of humanity than they do now. They are increasingly not caring about having a veneer of humanity. You either agree. The only way, you either agree or, you don't. But the only way to affect them is to take away their lifeblood, which is the money that they try to squeeze out of people. And
yeah,
do that by supporting independent creators.
Yes. So support independent creators. That's what we're here to do.
That's right.
Whee!
That's right. So I'm going to go ahead and flip my camera over here, and I'll go ahead and open this, and we'll talk about this first book and the epic adventure you went on to get this book made.
Oh,
but
boy.
where did this story start for you, Irene? How long has this story been brewing in your head? Like before you made this book?
So I think the proper story of Fiendish started around 2018. I was living in Taiwan at the time. It was like my life was a direct opposite of what it is now. I was like living in a spare apartment that my parents had. I didn't have like a proper job. I was barely getting any freelance work. I was technically working for Marvel, but they weren't giving me enough work to like really. That's why I was
survive.
in Taiwan, because I moved back because they were paying me too little to survive in America. And then, is one of the many months where I had no work for Marvel and I couldn't really like get a lot of freelance work, where I just sat around and was like, well, I've always wanted to create my own thing, because my idea was I'm going to work for some publishers and gain a following that way, and then go independent, maybe pitch to Image. But it's and that was still like kind of at the forefront of my mind when I put out Fiendish. But the thing is, I chose crowdfunding because I wanted to just try it and see if that was a better avenue, because I knew that with Image, it's kind of a silly model. Unless you're famous, they kind of just slap their publisher name on your book and then leave you to do all the work yourself anyways. So that's honestly what it's like with Image. And I was a nobody. Nobody gave a shit about me. And I knew that if I pitched Image, even if they gave me a chance, and I didn't think they would, because all the American publishers I had shown my work to kind of like had a weird issue with my work being so manga. So
oh, really? They balked at it because it was so manga?
I wouldn't say they balked at it, but they would say it's good, but then they would say it's not for them. And then I mostly worked for I mostly worked for Marvel, but I did show my portfolio work to DC, not pitch. I showed my portfolio, and the feedback I directly got was it was too manga. So that's why I never worked for DC, because the people that I got in contact with didn't like how manga my work was. So I was kind of like, I kind of just was tired of trying to like please these publishers, and I felt like I had an audience, and I want to just put my work out, and I figured, well, I can crowdfund it, and you know, I would have more creative control. I believe that in my creative vision, and I don't want any publisher to meddle in what I'm doing especially at the beginning stages. So let me crowdfund it, and then if it's successful, I can use that success to pitch it to a publisher. That's what I was thinking at the time. Now I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm perfectly happy being self-published. Yeah, I'm incorporated. I own my own publishing company. Fuck everybody else.
There you go. Yeah, and but, you could always go the Polito route. You could take this, break it up into smaller single issues, and you could put it out through previews. You know, buy an ad space and put it out through previews if you want.
Certainly, I am thinking of, you know, certain aspects of Fiendish were made to be able to cross platforms. For example, it was always intended to be translatable into marketable to Asia. So that's why I don't do double spreads, because then you can put it on webtoons. Like, it's not really like a webtoons comic, but it would still be readable if you just directly keep on scrolling down. And especially the first chapter, the pacing is more manga. I'm slowly working towards a more like European pacing, but I want the introduction to sort of at least be like, and I don't want to lose the manga style. I want it to be accessible to people. Like, it's also just, that's honestly my influence, right? I grew up with manga, so I'm not going to drop that influence like everybody in America wanted me 2 years ago. Like, I'm proud of having my manga influence. So that's just how I draw.
You should be. I mean, you know, it's what you grew up. It's what influenced you. It's the way you think visually. You know, trying to change the way you draw and the way you think visually is like, you know, trying to change a mountain. You know, you can do it, but it takes a lot. You have to really want to change. And if this is what comes naturally to you, then why fight it? You know, the line work's fucking great. You know, I'm looking at the first campaign here, like the artwork that you had up for it. So let me go ahead and pop this open. Please continue.
Right. So the story of Fiendish. So it was 2018. I was doing absolutely fuck all with my life. I was sitting in an apartment, just like doodling all day, not knowing what I was going to do. But the one joy in my life at the time was I was playing a lot of Pathfinder, which is a spin-off of Dungeons and Dragons, with some of my old friends. And so I was playing a lot of that. It was sort of my escapism from everything. And so I was kind of delving deep into world-building fantasy, and I think what happened was I was reminded of how much I liked world-building and fantasy, and how I was a huge fan of stuff like the first thing that really just blew my mind with like world-building and influenced me as a kid was actually Dinotopia. I don't know if people know. Like, I loved dinosaurs when I was like a little kid, and like Dinotopia just blew my mind and got me really into world building. And I'm a big fan of Tolkien. I'm a fan of George R.R. Martin. So it got me. But on top of that, I am actually a big mystery fan. So I spent my high school years reading tons of John Grisham books. I love murder mysteries. And the first manga I read was actually Case Closed, which is this like kind of murder mystery series for kids. It's like this kid detective. Well, he's a high schooler, but he's stuck in a little kid's body, and he solves murder mysteries and stuff. So that was like the first manga I really got into. So it just occurred to me, well, I want to do something that's in between. I want to create a fantasy series that is also a mystery tale, and that's what Fiendish was. So it kind of it just spawned from there, and the story has changed a lot since the first iteration, because of course the first draft was like complete crap, and I didn't know what I was doing, and it was disjointed, and it wasn't like it wasn't just something that was really clear from the start. Right. I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to say and the story that I wanted to tell. But I always knew it was there. It was just, I was also trying to find like who I was as a creator, because I've spent so many years trying to please other people. I spent like all of my entire professional career denying that I wanted to make my own series and denying my own style. And, you know, straight out of college, I did some work for Marvel, then I was working in animation, and it was like, it wasn't just 9 to 5. It was like 7 to 10 because it was a 2-hour commute each way. I was poor as shit. Didn't have a car. So I was going to this dead-end animation job where my boss treated me like crap and the benefits were shit. And I did that for years. And things got better when I eventually switched to working in gaming. But still, it was working for a corporation and drawing what they wanted. And I was never able to explore my own style. And I always had this itch to do that. So it made me kind of depressed at one point while I was working for gaming, which is why I quit and decided to do comics, and then realized that, well, working for Marvel is still not where it's at for me. So it's just this long journey of, sort of, I always wanted to do this, but I denied myself, and it was partially just circumstances. I had to pay the rent, but also I was doing what I thought was right, but I was wrong. The path for me was not to just make money, just go where the money was and go the safe route, find good art jobs that had good benefits. No, I want to be independent. I'm only happy when I'm independent. So I was finally honest with that. And after many iterations of the script, I sort of figured out the direction that I want to go with Fiendish. And finally in last year, I was ready to launch it. And now here I am.
And so here we are with the book. No, I mean there's a lot of shorthand there involved. I mean, because you went through absolute hell to get this book printed. So yeah. Oh wow. All right, y'all heard the slightly psychotic laugh, right? Thinking about the printing. Yeah. Okay. So this is just one of the many things that creators have to go through in order to get you your book. And Past Master Dan, I don't give a fuck what you say. I'm going to hold on to it. By the way, creators out there, as somebody who runs a show like this, I appreciate a nice little touch like this because it helps me figure out who I need to contact so I can have you come on this show. So you can promote the book that I just picked up, so I can show people, how awesome everything turned out after the hell that you went through to print it. So... thank you.
It. Thank you. Yeah, the tape was sort of. I'm glad I added that. Honestly, it was a bit of a pain. I added a lot of time to packaging everything, but I think it was worth it because it was just such a nice thing. People really like the tape. It's just tape, but people really like it. Everyone is saying
it's a nice touch.
Right. Once I started posting pictures of the packages going out, everyone was, started replying, "Oh, I'm gonna start looking for that package with the Fiendish tape, and I can't wait for it." It was really, really cool. So I'm glad I did it.
That is awesome. I am. Ooh. All right. So this is a language that you actually made, right? This is your language. Is this right side up or upside down?
See, that's upside down.
Okay. All right, so it's at the top, and then that's the...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, if I had... Okay, very cool.
I should have flipped it, but there you go. Now you know which side is up. Okay. No, the map is upside down now.
Okay.
Oh, there, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it flips the other way. I guess I should have flipped it the other... it flips
It's a great map, though. Look at that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's my world map. So I built, I'm big on world building again. Obviously, I built a world and I built a language for this fantasy project. I'm not an actual linguist or anything, but I'm just a bit of a language nerd. I just really like languages. So when I was building this world, cool. I don't know what it is. It gets my nerd brain going, and I just really like the history of languages, and I'm trying to learn a couple languages myself.
There we go.
So, it was the green screen.
Yeah. Sorry, my green screen was messing with it. There's a lot. I don't know if you guys can see. There's a lot of lush green in here. Let me see if I can tilt it and there's a nice matte finish to this that I really like. It kind of reminds me of. That cover stock, that matte cover stock. So these turned out nice.
Yeah, thank you. I really like the look of matte cover stock or matte stock with spot gloss. Spot gloss is kind of like a hell into itself. But
that is what I've heard.
Yeah.
That is what
But
I've heard.
I like the look. It's not feasible every time, I think, but I do like it.
Yeah. And then cards with stats on the back that you said you can plug these directly into Pathfinder, right?
Yep, they're translatable to Pathfinder. Cool. A couple of the abilities are ones that were designed just for Fiendish, because the plan is eventually, this is not something I've been able to work on very much recently, but the plan is eventually have a sort of Fiendish skin to Pathfinder, where you can skin Pathfinder First Edition with the rules for Fiendish, because even though like the base system itself is fairly translatable, and I'm going to take a lot of how would you say it? Model a lot of things out of Pathfinder because it's open source, anyways.
Right.
The magic system,
it being an offshoot of D&D, yeah.
Yeah. The magic system itself is different enough where I think I'd have to design something different, because I have a magic system that is race-based. Like every single species has their own magic system, so I have to do different spells. The way magic works has to be a little different. But then the way combat works and the way stuff like like character status and like the game itself, role playing and like travel rules and all that stuff, I think I'm just going to take that straight from Pathfinder, because I do really like that stuff. So yeah, eventually I'd like to have develop this sort of like gaming system that spins off of Pathfinder. So these cards are tied to that. You can plug it into technically you can plug it into any D20 gaming system. You can plug it into D&D as well. You might just have to like adapt a couple things. Yeah. You just like, if you know the game, you'll know like how to do it.
Yeah.
Because the stats and everything,
it would just take a little bit of research into what the stats mean, and
yeah, the stats would just be the same.
Yeah.
And you might have to like switch out some of the skills and traits and stuff. But the stats and all that stuff, like D&D has the same thing. Fort save, rep save, will save, all that stuff is the same in D&D. So
yeah. Very cool. I actually just did a cover for a local comic book company that has a book called Hardly Heroes, and they took their D&D campaign and they translated it into a comic book, and I did a cover for issue number 7, and they created a module, a D&D module, based upon their adventure, with the slight modifications that they did. So that, I think, is a great idea. Once you get the time to, really sink your teeth into it, I think that would be an awesome, expansion of the universe.
Ooh, yeah, that. I'm hoping that people will like that. Of course, the comic comes first, but that is something that I intend to eventually do.
Well, I think there will be a market for it. Is what I'm saying. So, I got 2 copies of Fiendish 1. I was thinking I'm gonna take one to the comic shop and see if the comic shop wants it. If he's not interested, then I know a couple of customers that might be, and then I will put them on the track to get number 2. So I also got the regular version and the black and white version because I'm a sucker for black and white line work.
Cool. Yeah, thank you for getting so many copies, man.
Well, I appreciate the good the good comics to get.
Yeah,
look,
so
the spot
funny.
Gloss.
Yes,
Can you see it?
It was.
Can you see it, chat? The spot gloss is there. In there.
It was a journey to get the spot gloss done, but it was worth it.
Ooh, and on the back.
Yeah.
It feels nice. It really does.
Yeah, all the pain was worth it. A funny story. So those who are around and back the campaign early will know that this was originally supposed to be a black and white comic. So the ongoing trend, which is a great problem to have, I'm not complaining, but it's just an issue that I'm still dealing with now, is that I keep on not expecting anyone to be interested in the book, and I keep on not expecting to have any backers. And I actually ran a sketchbook campaign before I launched Fiendish 1, and like I launched like a a little art book campaign in 2019 or so, and just to test the waters. And like I had like 50 backers, so I was like, oh, okay, so that's my audience pool. So I expected like 50 backers for this book, and I ended up having 1,300.
Little underestimated there. Shit.
Yeah.
Just a skosh. Oh, I really like the way this one turned out. Like the regular cover is awesome in its epicness, and it really sets the tone. But I love the tome nature of this cover. I dig the way this one's laid out, and the spot gloss really pops with with your language. What's the name of your language?
Nanarsa.
You created. I'm sorry.
Nanarsa.
Nanarsa.
Yeah, Nunarsa.
Nunarsa.
Yeah, that's
cool.
That text is Orgastish. That's fiendish in Nunarsa. Well, technically, it means like monstrous, like evil, monstrous is what that word means.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love the cover. Oh, see, and I love and see this also harkens back to your manga influences, because most manga is in black and white and gray tones. That's one of the things that always caught me about it when I was younger.
Right. Yeah, and I brought up the unexpected backer number because this is originally going to be just a black and white book, and I was like, oh, maybe after a few chapters people will like it and then I'll get it colored eventually, but it was going to be like quite a manga style series.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And the first few pages were colored just like in manga, but the rest of it was all black and white. I did like the shaded black. This grayscale edition was actually the original edition of chapter 1. But once I realized I was getting way more backs than I was expecting, thank you all very much. I put on a stretch goal to get
backs.
Yes, Comixgater backs. Thank you all. I love you. I put on a stretch goal to get the whole thing colored, and I think that was a 30,000 stretch goal, and we hit that. So I got a colorist, and it's all in colors now. But yeah, this is the original version, actually.
That's awesome. Tokame, yes, that's all in the Nursa, and Alex VRB has a link for you right there.
Thank you.
Man, that's gorgeous, isn't it?
Oh. The black and white covers are really popular. Honestly, they're my favorite too. I think the color cover turned out okay, and I quite like the color cover for chapter 2 as well. And I have a few variants, but I have like, it's like my inner goth girl Lovecraftian fan. I have a soft spot for the black and white covers, and I don't know. I almost want to make those like the permanent edition. Those are my favorite. So, but then it turns out I kind of, with the way things have gone, they kind of have been like with the chapter 2 black and white cover. That was the first 24-hour cover, so it's kind of this limited collector's thing. I might, but yeah, I really like this look.
Again, it's I could see this in like a leather bound edition, just black, leather with like a silver inlay, and then fiendish with your with Nanursa down at the bottom with the fiendish down there, the monster. No, it would be you got Kill Journal, right? Adam Lawson's book, kind of something like that, like a prestige edition like that. Oh, that'd be sick. I dig that. Hell, you wouldn't even have to do like this, like the monster in silver. You could just emboss the monster and just have fiendish in silver.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's nice. So I have been like, it's one of those things where I don't want to say it because I'm afraid of jinxing myself, but like, of course, and this is every creator, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, one day if it gets really popular, I'll do like a big leather bound edition. So like in my mind, if that happens, this is what the cover will look like. I'll do like something similar. So it'll be like leather bound and all black with like extra illustration into it. So.
Oh yeah, put some of the production sketches in it. Yeah, this image with this curvilinear perspective just blows me away every time I see it. Because curvilinear perspective is not the easiest thing to do and maintain. So
it's not that hard. It just takes a lot of time. So you take a
Yeah.
sphere that's gridded out, and then you just kind of like shrink it, and then you draw lines between the points on the two grids, and that's your perspective lines. It just takes time.
It is. It's very time consuming, but I mean that is a beautiful establishing shot. You know, and it is almost like a map in and of itself. If somebody's reading, and here you got more of that awesome curvilinear, but with that, it's almost like a map of the the settlement that the reader can go back to if they're trying to figure out where the characters are walking through. This is beautiful. I'm very glad that I got the black and white edition to see the line work, and hearing that this was the way it was originally intended. I'm glad that you put it out like this, because you get to satisfy the audience's desire for a color version of the book. And let's be fair, color books sell a lot better on Indiegogo. The people want color in the comic book. I mean, it's what they're looking for. So you get to satisfy the audience's desire for a color book. Oh wow, that turned out really good.
It did.
But you get to satisfy the audience, but you also get to put out the book in its original format, in the original way that you had intended. Now, the black and white feels a little bit thicker than the color book. Is there extra stuff in the black and white book?
No, the page count is the same. The color edition has, and actually I switched out the extra contents between the two books. So there's one page that's different between the extra content and the two editions. The color edition has an information on Alstad, the city that the story starts in.
Okay.
But yeah, the thickness is just because of the paper stock, and it's because of the paper shortages. Going back to the problems that I had printing this book, a lot of the issues were most of the issues were caused by the paper shortages, but also just like printers being absolutely horrible at communication. So the black and white version, I printed the black and white version first because this is what I told my backers from the beginning. The original plan was to do the book in black and white. So, and I launched the campaign. When I launched it, all the work was done except for the colors, because I didn't plan on doing the colors. So all my work was already done. So the deadline I set for fulfillment was for the black and white edition. So I was like, okay, in order to hit that, because I made a promise to fulfill it in its original form by, I think it was like November last year, I'm going to just print the black and white edition first and fulfill that. So that's what I did. And that was before the paper shortages. If you remember, the shortages hit right around like late November and early December. So I managed to get the black and white version printed like before the paper shortages. Everything went super smooth as butter. And I fulfilled those. And I was just kind of like sending more of the grayscale editions out as they, as orders came in throughout the rest of the campaign, in demand. But, with let me see, but the color had to be delayed though, because I had to get a color. So I told everybody, okay, if you got the color book, it'll be fulfilled next year. So
you kept in constant communication, and that is crucial when you have hiccups like this, because letting the audience. Yeah.
Right, it's their money. Of course, I had to keep them updated on everything, and so I told everyone. The plan was like it would take a couple extra months to color it, so I wanted to fulfill it in like January or February of this year, and so that was what I changed the date for the color edition to. But lo and behold, the paper shortages hit, and then first the printer that did the grayscale edition couldn't print the color edition the way I wanted. They were short on some paper stock, but also they couldn't do spot gloss. So, and I had promised the backers I would do spot gloss. So I was like, I'm going to switch to a printer that could do spot gloss, especially for the color edition. So I did that. I jumped around between several printers.
Right.
And a couple of them either just couldn't do it, or one of them was like a smaller printer, and they just couldn't handle the volume. Another one, the price point was way too high, and I ended up just wishing I went with them, because I'd rather just spend more money and not have to go through all this pain. But and then finally I settled on a printer in Florida, which initially the deal seemed great. They offered me a good deal. They said they could do it. They could do the spot gloss, blah, 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 blah. And it was actually a recommendation from somebody else. Somebody else said that they printed there and they did a good job. But then, we made a business agreement, and then it was just like months of waiting. Like, they just kept on not having the paper. They did say from the beginning that they had paper shortages and I might have to wait. They said like a few weeks. They said no, like probably a month, but we're thinking a month, but likely longer is what they said. So I was like, I'm fine with waiting that long. Just please keep me updated. And that's all I wanted was like, keep me updated. And then it would just silence, and I would email them, and I would just like, so what's going on? They were like, we still don't have paper. And I would email them, and they'd be like, what's going on? We still don't have paper. So I think,
I mean, could you let me know you don't have the paper? I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking for here.
Right, right. So like, I waited until fucking April before they had the paper, and they sent me the books, and then they sent me the books, and half of the print run was damaged. So what happened was I fulfilled the books that were not damaged. But then I overprinted, but because it was half the fucking print run, I still didn't have enough books to finish fulfillment. Like, I overprinted by a lot, but having 860 something books were how many books were damaged. That was how many.
800. Hold on. Did you say 860 books?
Yeah, I did like a 1,500 book print run, and over half, and I overprinted by a lot, but
that is
with
unacceptable.
Half of the print run, it was like 860 books were damaged, and I was like, I can't send people damaged products. It wasn't like bad damage. It was like a ding on the cover, but still, I know it's damaged. I can't honestly tell backers everything is fine. I send this to them. So I told them, well, you're going to have to make up for this. And they said, okay, but we still don't have paper. So then I was waiting again for like some 4 months. And finally I was like, dude, can you just give me a refund so I can go somewhere else? And they were kind of just making excuses. And finally I just like had enough. I just spent more of my own money, did a whole new print run with a printer in Texas, and just so I could have some fucking books to fulfill. And I finished fulfillment it was super late. I felt so bad, but I tried to update everyone, but still, it's my project, so I still feel responsible, right? So, but I finished fulfillment with like the second print run, which caused some more issues because a lot of people want the first edition of a book.
Of course.
So I try to ask backers, if you're a collector, you really want the first print run, I will make you can tell me. I'll make sure you get the first print of Fiendish one. So it was a lot of like pooling emails, making sure everybody got the exact edition that they wanted. And I really did want to make everyone happy, but it was just I was dealing with this clusterfuck on my end where I had damaged books and the original printer wasn't like reprinting it. So I had to like spend my own money and just print like another like several like 1,000 books or so. So I was done with that, and then I went back to the printer, and this was a whole other issue. This is like the most important thing was fulfillment, right? So the backers have their books, but on my end,
it's a feature. Yeah. So on your end, continue.
On my end, I was short a bunch of money. Like, I have all these books that are damaged, and they said they would make up for it, but they hadn't done it, and they kept on saying they don't have paper. So I was trying to be understanding. I went back to the Florida printer and told them, hey, if you clearly are having trouble getting the paper stock. So if you can't reprint it, can I just get a partial refund? I don't even want a full refund. Just give me a partial refund, because I can sell the damaged books, but it has to be at a cheaper price. So let's figure out the percentage, because I'm losing money because of your mistake here. And then they gave me it was like the worst customer service ever. They gave me this terrible reply that was like, I never promised a refund. And, we worked with a lot of we printed a lot of comics, so like this damage is not that bad. It's only like a 1/4-inch thing on the cover, so it's fine. They're basically telling me like, calm down, it's fine. Like the damage isn't that bad. So that's what really pissed me off, and I kind of went off on them a little bit. You know, it's at the time I felt bad afterwards, but now I don't,
the concept
because
of collectible. Like,
right.
I mean,
no,
come on.
they were going on about, they were saying, well, we printed so many comics, we understand you know, this is important to you. It's like, well, if you understand it's important to me, then you wouldn't be talking to me this way, because you know this is a collector's market. This
place prints so many comics, but they understand how important it is to you, huh? Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Like, I mean, then why are they giving you shit about like actually trying to, you know, get the stuff that you paid for?
Right, and damage is damage, exactly. Kokoman is saying damage is damage, and they admitted that the damage was because one of their machines, like the scrap, got in one of their machines and dented the covers. So it was just, you know, I was being really nice up until that point. I just had fucking enough.
I fucking bet.
Yeah.
What's up, old dirty fatty?
Yeah, a bunch of drama ensued, and you know, I think then you know, I started telling people, hey, this is what's happening. You know, I was being nice. I wasn't telling everybody what was going on behind the scenes, but then I told everybody because I just had enough, and I think they realized that this was really bad PR. So they did eventually send me, and I wasn't asking for much. I didn't even ask for them to reprint the whole books. I was asking for them to just reprint the covers, and I would spend a couple $100 and get a local print shop to reskin the covers. Like,
holy shit. Okay.
Wow. That's how
fucking done with their shit you were.
That's how done with their shit I was, and that's also how nice I was in dealing with this situation. I was trying to like, let's just what is the absolute minimum that we can go down to make this work and make the damage, the financial damage I took, mitigated at least a little bit, right? Because you're like, you can like, I don't know like how much money I lost with doing that second print run and everything, but what's more important is the fact that my fulfillment was fucked up, and you can't calculate how many customers are unhappy with my product and my brand because I didn't fulfill as quickly as I promised. And a lot of backers are very understanding. I think almost everyone was super nice. They know because I was keeping them updated. They told me it was all right. They understood this is my first book, but still, like, there are going to be people who don't care. They want you to be streamlined. They want their book as soon as possible, and those people might not be backing my second book just because of this. So that's financial damage that I can't calculate, and I'm aware of that, and they're not thinking of that at all.
Yeah. And because they don't want it to be their problem. If they acknowledge that kind of problem, then they acknowledge that they should in some way compensate you, or at least do something to make it easier for you. But you know, you're probably a lot nicer than I would have been. Red Valkyrie says Rini is just too nice.
I think I was, but then again, they can't say that.
I mean, it sounds like
I was mean, I was bullying them. Like, fuck off. Like, they...
Sai is apparently sending hurricanes up asses for you.
Oh, thank you, Sai. Sai's the best. I knew you were the one to set them straight. Yeah. But, you know, it's one of those things where... I probably was too nice. I just don't like being mean to people. But at the end of the day, like, enough is enough. And I'm not going back to this printer. And I'm not going to recommend them to anyone else.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. And to talk about missed sales, I mean, brand damage, whether it be done out of an accident or because a creator is has an overblown ego, brand damage happens. And when it's out of your hands, it's excruciatingly frustrating because you can't do a fucking thing about it except tell the people that have supported you that, hey, this is what's going on. This is why communication is so important with your backers because, hey, I've taken your money and I have put it into this, and I'm making this thing, and you will get your product. This is the problem that's going, that's happening. Like, I backed a fucking piece of tech on Indiegogo. It's this hybrid drive. You plug it in via USB-C. It's got 2 terabytes of fucking flash storage on it, and it's got a bunch of ports on the back of it. I backed this thing fucking 3-4 years ago. I still haven't gotten the damn thing. Sometimes shit takes a long time because of, X, Y, and Z. Production doesn't happen. Paper shortages. Can't get microchips. I mean, shit fucking happens. So, that damages the brand. People associate that with the lateness. So it's a real thing. Missed sales are a real fucking thing.
Yes, and even if you even if you communicate with your backers, like I know there are people that still think it's my fault. Like, not everyone reads the fucking updates. Not everyone watches all my YouTube videos. Not everyone follows my Twitter like a hawk. So, I saw on Twitter, like, there was only like 1 or 2 people that were saying, well, Irene fucked up her fulfillment. But even that lets me know that, yes, there are people who are put it on me that the print job was fucked up, and they don't care about what's going on behind the scenes. So, and for my part, I've done everything I can to ensure this doesn't happen again. I'm going with the same printer. As far as I know, I should be going with that printer in Texas. I did an excellent job with the reprinting for book 1. I'm telling them ahead of time, this is when I'm going to print with the book. We're going to reserve the paper. They're going to reserve the time, hopefully. And that's my plan. And I'm hiring someone to do my fulfillment this time. So, because it was so that the books could get out faster, because on my end, I had to do everything myself with the first book, and that slowed things down as well because I don't have family helping me. I don't have like kids that I can wrangle into doing free labor. So it was me shipping out. It was 1,300 orders, but it ended up being like 1,800 books or something. So I'm hiring someone that specializes in fulfillment. I'm going to spend that extra money. It's going to be worth it because you guys will be getting your books faster, and it'll be packaged professionally and everything. So like, these are lessons learned, but at the end of the day, like, I did really want everything in my first campaign to be perfect, and because I have high standards for myself and for my brand, and it really frustrates me that those standards weren't met, no matter what. Yeah.
And, the lessons learned. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. I think that anybody that's actually paid attention to this scene from the beginning has seen all the different lessons learned on all the different campaigns. Even people that have never put out a campaign before. I mean, look at Neff with, his campaign. There's so much that he learned just by paying attention to what was happening. We operate in a niche market, a niche within a niche, if you will. And, you act a fool, people will talk. They may not say they do, but they do. People talk. So, subscribe to my philosophy, and don't be a petty bitch.
I like that. Don't be a petty bitch.
It's a very simple thing. Don't be a petty bitch.
Well, sometimes I'm a little petty, but I like to think it's for the right reasons. Like with like with the aforementioned fuckery.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, sometimes they warrant the pettiness if they're going to be petty. Sometimes you just gotta give it right back. But let's go ahead and take a look at the trailer for the first Fiendish. Now that you guys have heard the epic struggle that she went through to get this to you. We're going to show the trailer for the first one, and then we're going to run the trailer for the second one, and let's talk about Fiendish 2.
Okay. It's been a while. I missed this trailer.
Is there sound? Can you hear it? Sorry, Sai. I think that's better than Creed.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a
You're welcome. You're welcome.
low bar.
Yeah. You'd have to limbo to hit that one, but yeah. Cool. So who did the music for you? It probably was at the end of the trailer there that I didn't see.
Oh no, that was just something I got from Adobe stock. I lucked out. It was like perfect music. I really like.
Wow.
Yeah. I think the composer is Paul Werner. He does a lot of movie soundtracks, but he had some stuff on Adobe stock, and I just paid for some stock music.
Nice. So as you guys can see, this was the first campaign enticing people to pick up the book, and now let's take a look at Fiendish 2. I swear I can operate a computer. Chrome tab. Fiendish 2 tab. There it is. All right. And another trailer. Now, do you make your own trailers, or did you hire somebody to do the trailer for this one?
I made my own.
Nice.
As I work in animation, I just do After Effects.
Makes sense. Listen, old dirty fatty. I don't need none of your damn lip. Nice. All right, music. Zivia. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
very tribal. Very tribal.
Right.
Very Celtic influence. I dig it.
It's actually a Belarusian
really?
musician. Yeah, so Zivia is it's actually one guy who just writes the music and hires out an orchestra. It's kind of epic.
Nice.
But,
okay.
I'm a big fan of like sort of pagan music like Wardruna and Heilung and Danheim and all these other like and there's some non-European ones as well, like Hungai and the Who and stuff like that. But yeah, these like really tribal rock.
Yeah,
I don't know if you.
I love that
rock.
stuff.
Yeah, like tribal music stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean it's rock. I mean it's rock and roll.
It's rock. Yeah,
yeah.
It's like kind of like tribal, rock metal music.
Oh,
and
yeah. I mean, give me Soulfly all day, every day.
Yeah.
Soulfly, early Sepultura, please.
And
Max
Zivia,
Cavalera.
Yeah. All that stuff is great, and one of my favorite is probably Wardruna. But anyways, so Zivia was does this kind of music, and I was like, a lot of these bands there's a lot of Nordic stuff. There's a bunch of like Mongolian bands as well. As the Nordic and kind of Germanic bands. It is sort of more of those. I think it's a bit more of like a musical movement. But I found Zivia through a friend, and he has like the singing is Belarusian, and his music, like the lyrics are all about Belarusian culture and how Belarus's history is just like war torn, and there's there's like it's like the land is just full of like there's a lot of conflict throughout their history, and I thought that was really interesting because obviously the fantasy that I created on, especially the continent of Arvos. It's like I'm a huge nerd about Viking culture and like the Scandinavian history and Norse mythology. I actually also really like Slavic mythology, and I kind of wanted to, my intention was kind of combine the two, and that's sort of like my fantasy aesthetic was kind of like Nordic, Slavic, and
Right.
also a little Turkic if you
Okay.
go towards the south of Arvos, of the continent that I created. So it's sort of like this Eastern European fantasy that it's a little like The Witcher, but it's like a
Right.
more ancient form, because The Witcher is like medieval times, but I
Sure.
like to create, I want to create something that's like really ancient and tribal and really
Back
like
when
how
magic was free to roam the earth.
right, yeah, and there's just like a lot more high magic, and you can I don't know, it's different. Like I love The Witcher, but I'm not
Right.
trying to rip them off. It's clearly it's
Well,
a whole
Alex
different
VRB
thing.
seems to think it's Pokemon but darker.
Oh, totally, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't even realize it. Totally makes sense.
I missed the Pokemon train way back in the day.
Oh yeah, yeah. Didn't you see that little creature in the background just screaming across the panels, going Pika Pika Pika?
Sure. Baromi says there should be a little box in the bottom right of Rini's trailer reaction on the trailer. Every time the trailer is run, so you can just have a pre-recorded reaction. What's up, Christopher John?
Hello.
Good to see you, man. That's Irene Strychalski.
Polak, it's me.
Yeah. Surprise!
Surprise!
Earth Guapo says, are you a fan of the Wicked Tinkers? Not familiar.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know.
What? What do you... You hear the old... Whatever you want to hear, Sai. I am
Of course,
thoroughly convinced.
I would hear that. It's HANGGAI.
DM's hellbent on dropping items I can't use. You might need to talk
I know
to
that
DM
feeling.
about
I
that.
have a character who literally can't use magic, and every time, like, it's like we have this giant loot pile, and half of it is like magic items and like wands and stuff, and I'm just like, fucking why, GM?
Sell them to buy something else, maybe?
I could do that too, yeah.
Old Dirty Fatty wants to know if you've seen Muka's Slavic epic paintings.
I
fucking love
don't
Muka's
think
work.
so. I have been slowly collecting a lot of other, especially like environment paintings and paintings of like, fantasy Slavic towns. It's hard to find because there's a bit of a language barrier, but yeah, I've been slowly amassing quite a few. But yeah, I will check that out.
Yeah. I love Alphonse Muka. Just his the graphic nature of his line work and the way he will frame things. Just I don't know. It's very of its time, but it's I don't know. It's also almost timeless in its presentation because it just works visually. Yeah, the subtlety of Muka's figures is something that has always just blown me away. Just the way he'll have, somebody just kind of lounging back like this, and they look like they are just in the most comfortable position in the world because the subtlety of the body language is such that they are relaxing, Even if they look, mildly contorted, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Anyway, let's take a look at the campaign here. So this is the image you're rolling with. Tell us who this powerful green-haired woman is. What's going on here? Who is this?
So that's Ragna. I actually dropped a little hint. Her first appearance was at the back of book 1 because one of the stretch goals was to add some extra pages, 4 extra pages to the back of the book, and I added a little scene introducing her. It was really no reason for that scene other than just as a little hint of this cool character that was going to show up and to put some boobs in the book.
The secret comes out.
I know
put some boobs in the book.
I know what my customers want, and I deliver.
Well, look, if what sells at the auctions is any indication, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I aim to make my customers happy. So this is Ragna. She is she's an Ispoliad shaman, so she's a different race than humans. Her race is called Ispoliad, which people think they're related to humans because they can interbreed with humans, and actually the Ispoliad are a mix between humans and a sort of a different, like a mysterious race called the Ispolin that were sort of these magical beings with like green or blue hair and red skin that came onto every continent and taught humans magic and governance thousands of years ago, and then just left. And they left a lot of mixed descendants, and the mixed descendants are called Ispolin. Ispolin is actually, I think that's also... I think that's a bulky. Yeah, it's kind of tied to that. You know how it's really interesting how in a lot of cultures they do have myths like Atlanteans or the Anunnaki. And I was going to use the word Anunnaki at first, but then I found the word Ispolin, and it's from Bulgarian mythology. It's just essentially the same fucking thing as the Anunnaki. So I was like, this is fucking perfect. It's Slavic, and it's just the thing I was looking for. So I use that word. So the way I make it work in my world is on Arvos, the northern continent, they're called the Ispolin, but in the southern continent, which is, you know, sort of like my amalgamation of the Middle East and India, they're called the Anunnaki. And then in my fantasy Asia, they're called something else, and you know that's you know, just like
it's just like our world. I mean, different names for the same thing, essentially. You know, the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Great Flood. You know.
Oh yeah, a lot of those stories too. I love ancient stories, and
mythology is a lot of fun. I've had a lot of these conversations with Feline, as a matter of fact. Yeah, they're fun conversations. Yeah,
I love ancient mythology. But yeah, so she's that's what her race is, and they're sort of like rare in numbers, but they're extra powerful because the Ispolin only were they more knowledgeable, they have their magical abilities were stronger than humans, so their descendants, the Ispoliad, are just naturally stronger casters, and they dominate the clerical and shamanic professions, and they're sort of like this minority that's overrepresented in a lot of like the higher professions and classes and stuff like that. So so she is the sole heir to Ispoliad shamanic line and a shaman's hermitage called Thalfrin. Her grandmother is a master shaman of Thalfrin and was her master, and yeah, Thalfrin, it's sort of so in my world, most shamans, they go through like a formal training process. It's very much like almost like clan based, like there aren't a lot of large kingdoms, but the shamanic order is the most organized order there is. It's very formal. There's a citadel called Malkenka, is sort of like the shamanic university. Think of it like Old Town in A Song of Ice and Fire. It's this knowledge center. There's a huge library there, and it's the arch shamans determine like who is qualified to be a shaman, who ascends, and who's ready to like move on from their apprenticeship and all this kind of shit. So then below that, in every like town and settlement and city, you know, there's like there's a master and apprenticeship system to train shamans, and there's like initiation process and all this stuff. So anyways, so most shamans are formally trained, and they're pledged to a town, and they serve a town or like a town or a village or a city or whatever. They serve a settlement. But the shamans of Thalfrin are kind of these like they live in a weird hermitage. People come to them. They're this long line of like Ispoliad that just live in this like in the mountains, and Ragna is the last of her line. So the reason she's in the story is because when Kazimir escaped his hometown after it was destroyed, the hunter who found him brought him to Thalfrin to be healed. So he's known Ragna since they were both young. They're similar ages, and they kind of grew up together. So Ragna's essentially, long story short, she's the love interest, but with a bit of a twist, because both her and Kazimir have terrible personalities. They fight all the time. They cannot get over
both horrible people.
They cannot get over how full of themselves. Both of them are completely full of themselves. So it's so much fun to write.
They're both narcissists.
All right, cool. Well, she's a narcissist. He just has like issues with opening up, and he's kind of a dick, and he can't help it. And so yeah.
So on top of the epic fantasy, you've got actual characters with flaws. Holy shit, you're crazy putting characters with actual flaws in a book. How dare you write actual people?
Well,
what are you
I
doing,
don't know,
Irene? What are you doing? Putting actual character development into your book. That's not how we do things in 2022.
But apparently not, especially for female characters. They're just supposed to be perfect. But you know, I write female characters with flaws because I thought that's how you're fucking supposed to write them, like real fucking people.
Well, see, this is a symptom of being well read. When you read a lot, you have a wide spectrum of how things have been written before. You pick up on the good aspects. Like, you got to read good literature and bad literature to tell the difference. So being widely read allows you to, be able to tell the difference. If you've grown up on nothing but garbage, your whole life, and then you attempt to write something, it's of course going to be derivative garbage because you grew up on garbage. But if you're widely read and you've read classics, you're familiar with classic literature, you're familiar with story structure, you're familiar with little popcorn novels and shit like that, you understand the literature landscape, I guess is for lack of a better term, and you can function better in it. And one of the things that literature teaches you is that, characters actually have flaws. People have flaws. I think
that's part of it. Yeah, that's part of it. But it's also, like, I think a lot of these quote-unquote progressive types go on about empathy, but I find that a lot of them are the most lacking in empathy of all of us in the modern age, because to write characters well, you need to have empathy, and you need to have part of writing, part of fantasy, and like acting and stuff, it's to put yourself in the shoes of someone else, and specifically someone that isn't necessarily like you, because no two people are alike. It doesn't matter if they're the same race, same gender, and all this stuff. That's a different person, and you should be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand their journey. But this seems like a lot of modern culture cares more about what's represented on the surface level, instead of understanding that there are human universals to the journey that we are all here to partake in. And that's what you have to understand and reflect in your storytelling. And that's what, at the end of the day, readers are going to latch onto. You can have the best art, you can have the most epic battles, you can have the biggest names on the book, but if your characters don't have a journey and aren't interesting, your book is not going to be read 50 years from now. And I want to write something that's going to be read 50, 100 years from now.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I can do it, but that's my goal.
Well, I mean, having that as your goal is a better place to start than I'm just going to slapdash something together, and if it's a pastiche of, everything that I've read before with literally no depth, then, what's the point? Okay, you made this thing, but, make something that means something to you. No, I fully understand what you mean. It's better to actually put forth the effort and, like, make something. This is what I've said about YouTube content, about whatever content you're making. Make content that you would enjoy. Make a comic book that you would enjoy. Now, if you're easily entertained by shallow depth and one-dimensional characters, fine, go make that. But don't expect that to resonate and stick around and stand the test of time. Like you said, the reason why certain things stick around and are read decade after decade after decade is because they resonate with the human experience. They resonate with overcoming obstacles. They resonate with flawed characters that have to fix themselves, for lack of a better term, or go on an adventure to realize that they needed to progress. Real characters actually have a character arc. They change over time. They're not just this fucking flat line. Life is not a plateau. Life goes up, and it goes down, and it goes up, and it goes down, But characters have to overcome something. That's part of the adventure. There's no adventure if they're not overcoming something. And that's my biggest problem with modern day, storytelling. There's no adventure. There's no adventure in your fucking adventure. Ain't nobody doing anything. Everybody's just sitting around drinking fucking coffee.
That's the way to put it.
Sorry.
And I think, well, no, I do agree with that. And I think the point that I've said before is it's not actually inspirational to show people a character that just looks like them, that is already perfect at everything. That's not inspiring. What's inspiring is to see a character who has similar personality struggles and similar struggles in their path, but even if in like a fantasy sense, like maybe their struggle is insecurity, or their struggle is they're too hebretical and that keeps on getting them into trouble. But all these things that regular people deal with, you amplify that in fantasy and push it to a larger scale so that these journeys are more obvious. But you do that so people can relate to, and understand that character's journey. And when they see how this character overcomes these obstacles and their own internal struggles, that's a model for how we can live our lives better. That's what's actually inspirational. Nobody is inspired by someone that's already perfect and never had to work hard, because that's not reality. Nobody is perfect. Nobody goes through life without having to struggle. If you keep on telling people, especially young people, that you're already perfect the way you are, then you're going to create a lot of really depressed people, because they'll grow up and realize, well, why doesn't the world treat me like I'm already perfect? And why am I not good at anything? Why don't I have any value? Because
why don't I just why am I not just told that I'm perfect when I walk out into the world? No, you're onto something there. Yeah.
They can be told they're perfect, but the fact is people derive fulfillment, not just immediate happiness, but fulfillment is something greater. People derive fulfillment from overcoming long-term struggles and making something of themselves. And entertainment nowadays, for the most part, I see, not all, but I see a lot of it is fixated on not building that tendency, not pushing people to seek to be better, to find out whether they can make something out of themselves. Like that's seen as something old, that should be done away with. Aspiring to be something greater, improving yourself, having flaws that you have to overcome. That's like an old mode of storytelling of something, and that's fucking bullshit, because that's not like Western imperialist storytelling, what the fuck ever these idiots nowadays say it as. That's just the human state. There is no cultural boundaries. There is no racial or gender boundaries to heroic storytelling. So we can't let that die.
Just tell a good story. Make real characters that people make characters that people want to go on a fucking journey with, make characters that people can actually invest time with, and go on this journey, because that's what your characters are. Your characters are the vehicle for the audience to, engage with your story. And if your characters are boring, then they're going to think your story's boring, even if they're going through, the catacombs, of whatever, and you've built up this epic lore. If you don't have characters that are engaging and keep you moving, then, your story's going to fall flat.
And I think it's useful to know about Campbell's heroic journey and all these, and Carl Jung's psychology is also very interesting. I'm very interested in psychology, but
absolutely,
these things are by no means a formula. At the end of the day, and like when I'm writing Fiendish, I'm not like Kazimir, my main character is, and I don't think any of my characters are modeled strictly after the heroic journey. That's not how I went about designing this. You're right that when you're writing a story, I think what the most important thing is just to come up with a character, figure out what their struggle is, make it interesting, and make their story something that the readers want to follow, and all the other things will kind of fall into place. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of drafts, a lot of iterations, and there's a bit of like, I don't know how else to describe other than I think there's a little bit of magic to it, because how do you describe it?
Of course there is.
I was talking to Narwhal on my show the other day, just yesterday, about art style and charm in your art. How somebody can be technically excellent, but there's no charm, there's no life to their art, and that's not something you can teach. That's just something that's instinctive. That's that magical spark in art. And I think in storytelling, the charm of your characters and the humanity and that realness is something that it's it can't be taught. You just have to practice and fail and keep on working and going through all these iterations. And one day your characters will start speaking to you, and that's when you know that you reached a point and you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that you refine over time. It's not something that is just immediately available. It's something that must be worked at. Yeah, no, I agree. You know, so let's actually take a look at the campaign here. I love the fact that we got off on an aside about storytelling. I love story. This is why I run my shows the way I do, though, because my shows are meant to be a conversation. I enjoy the way the conversation flows, and if we get onto storytelling as like a topic of conversation, and that's what we're talking about, fine. You know, I mean, the link is in the description. You guys know where to get this. You guys know you've seen the book that I got. You know, you've seen Volume 1. You know the quality is there. Look at this fucking gorgeous Plagal art that's up on the screen here. I mean, she's pulling out all the stops for Volume 2, and you know there's some AAT right there. Actually, it's more TTA, which is what I'm more of a fan of. But yeah, beautiful cover. So how many pages are we shooting for in Volume 2?
Oh, Volume 2 is right now it's 72. It might be 74 pages, but around that ballpark. And I tend to add a lot of extra content in the back of my book, so it's going to be a big fat book.
Nice.
Big fat book. BFB.
BFB, big fat book. Hey,
yes.
You know what? I'm all for that, because that means more story for me. That means chunky book for me to sit down with a cup of coffee and read. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Chapter 1 was, I think, 50 story pages, and that was already perfect bound, because that's, you know, I think especially with how long backers have to wait for these crowdfunded books, I would rather give them a larger chunk of story, and I think that's just how I like to tell stories as well, like larger chapters. So I think most of my chapters going forward will be at least 70 pages. I'm aiming for 70 to 80 pages per book ballpark.
That's awesome. And that's speaking of learning things, like the things I've noticed about campaigns as they've gone on. I've noticed that campaigns have like bumped up the page number because they've realized that it does take a little bit more time to get things out. So give a bigger chunk of story, give more to digest over the time period. I think it's a great plan. Plan.
Yeah, might as well. And here, my character profiles and some interior pages. And
I like that you've got the character profiles. You know, just a refresher for everyone, and you know, more. Sometimes you can get, you know, little backstory, in-depth things with the character profiles that then you can just go with the story. You know, you don't have to worry about going into. So yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should add the character profiles, but that's actually something that I'm adding at the beginning of the book. Okay. You know how like sort of the catch-up page in a lot of comics, because you know
previously
every comic
on
is somebody's the previously on page, but I remember how manga, instead of doing the previously on, they tend to have like a character by character breakdown, like a couple pages of the character portraits, and they describe like this is who this character is, this is who this character is, and kind of the reader can infer what's happened before from the character breakdowns. So the
character breakdowns have updated stuff as to what's happened in the story. They're constantly changing.
Yeah. So it's like a one paragraph short thing, but I do also have what happened up until now. That's on the back cover. So smack dab on the back cover, I have like 2 paragraphs about like this is the premise for the story. I had that on. If you look at the back cover of book 1, I have the setup and sort of really entice people to read every book. That I'll edit that a little bit, and that'll be an ongoing thing.
Well, that's actually a great idea, because if you have that on the back, that's the setup for the book, and then somebody just grabbing the book without having chapter 1, they pick up chapter 2, they read the back of the cover, they can just jump into the story and start enjoying it, and then they can seek out chapter 1, like, you know, like we all do when we find a comic book that we really like. You go and you find the back issues. So All right, so let's take a look at the first tier here, because I do have to get ready for Comics GUI at 9. This has been a fantastic conversation. I'm really enjoying the talk about story, and I'm really excited for everybody to be able to dig into this, because you created your own language. I mean, you got a map, you did the cartography. I mean, obviously you're invested in this. So the Give Me Everything bundle is everything: Fiendish 2 Classic variant, Fiendish 2 Dark variant, the Boobsco variant, the Demon Standee, the Ragnar Standee, the Regrowth art book, Fiendish #1 Demons World Map poster, and Fiendish #2 All Natural variant. Holy crap. That is a lot of stuff, folks.
Yeah, it's basically all the variants on top of a copy of chapter 1, and the little trinkets that I have with the campaign, and the art book, because people really like that I had my 2019 art book, so I'm going to do a reprint of that, and it's going to be a whole lot of printing. But I have 2 standees. The Demon Standee is from chapter 1. I'm going to make more for this campaign. I'm doing a new Ragnar Standee and the world map. So it's the Give Me Everything is a give you everything, except for
literally,
of course,
everything.
Yeah, not the original art, but I can't give you everything with the original art.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the original art is a completely separate animal.
Yeah.
All right. So the base book is just $25.
I keep everything really simple. After the Give Me Everything, it's just all the variants, and I have a Catch Me Up, which is chapter 1 and 2, and then I have a bulk retailer perk, and that's it. Everything else you can add whatever you want as add-ons. I don't know if it'll be hell with so many backers to do add-ons. We'll see. I know Malin doesn't do add-ons anymore for that reason. I'll see if my fulfillment guy goes crazy and yells at me about it. But yeah, right now it's the campaign should, like, my whole goal with the campaign was to make it easy on the user end, so you can customize your purchase as much as you want.
Right. I mean, that means extra work for you, but making it easier for your customers to get what they want also means more money for you, because if you make it easy for your customers to buy what they want, I mean, look at Amazon. They make it easy for you to buy what you want, and people spend lots of money on Amazon. Tokame Seth wants to know, is it possible to get a signed copy?
I don't have like a signed tier. With chapter 1, I signed every book, and because I'm not doing the fulfillment this time, I don't think that's gonna be a thing. Maybe no one's actually asked me this.
Well, that's the thing. Again, the campaigns I've paid attention to and watching what people have learned, it's it's a logistics nightmare having everything signed and sent out, especially if you've got 100 books that you're sending out. It's not terrible, but you get into 700, 800, 900, 1,000 books, that becomes a logistics nightmare getting everything signed. So,
and I signed every book of chapter 1, so I'm just the signing and the way, like, all the other extra trinkets, because I had trading cards. I mean, you just unboxed it, all the putting together all these little things, because it's not just packing up one book. That's what took so long. So I don't know. I might do like a signed ad. I feel weird charging people for my fucking signature, so I don't really want to do that. I would say
it's again, it's a logistics thing. But you still do convention appearances, so people can bring a copy of Fiendish up and get it signed. Just saying, put the legwork in. You can go see Irene. She's one of the few that does crowdfunding books that actually does conventions. So, I mean, that is then an option for folks out there.
Correct. Yeah, and I do plan on still doing conventions. So
Venice says maybe do it as an add-on. I didn't know EVS was doing that as an add-on for his toys. But I mean, again, it's just a logistics thing, and the price, putting a price on it, it keeps you from having to sign every last one of them. So I mean, I don't know. again, you do conventions. A lot of other people that do the crowdfunding thing don't. So, you know, there is that option for folks. I don't think EVS is doing conventions anytime soon. I could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Yeah,
So.
I don't recall him saying that, but I could do an add-on. I will consider it. So thank you very much for the suggestion. I will write that down right now.
Seth says, do a limited run set, only 25 signed, and make it a custom tier that is set to a different price. There you go. Yeah, could be.
Yeah. I listen to my customers. I will consider that.
I mean, if there's enough demand for it, you know.
Okay.
You got to make sure that it's it's worth worth your time. The logistics, like you said, it's like I said, it's a logistics nightmare. So
yeah, I can't do that many.
As long as it offsets your time, because doing that takes you away from the book. You know, that's the other thing that folks got to realize, is that it takes you away from working on the book. I know I'm kind of shotgunning through the perks here, but unfortunately we are running out of time. You know, you get the $25 for the classic Fiendish #2, $25 for the Boobsco cover, which is both my dudes, Dan Plagle and Billy Bosco.
The 25
epic
is
cover.
Yeah, that's just, and any of the one copy of Chapter 2, no matter what variant, is 25.
Yep. And if you missed the first book, which I didn't, obviously, but you can get Fiendish 1 and 2 in a convenient tier. That's fantastic. I love seeing that on the front page. You know, some they have they have limited quantities of the first book, so they have it as an add-on in the back. But I also love this, the bulk option. I'm going to strongly encourage my my comic shop to grab one of these, because they are selling a lot more manga. In the 7 years that I worked there, and I had never had anybody come in and look for manga specifically, right? The last, I guess, year and a half that I was there, people were coming in more regularly looking for manga, and we started getting more manga in. So, I mean, this is a natural kind of hybrid of the two that I honestly think would sell well for him, but, anyway, I have to go to the shop and clean out my pull list anyway, so I'm gonna pester him tomorrow. And all the wood burning portraits are sold out, unfortunately, everybody. So, there you go.
Oops. Better luck next time.
Well, I mean, seriously, get in on it early. Ooh. Yeah. You got a Dan Lawless cover too? Oh, it's a print. Okay.
It's a print, yeah. So that's a stretch goal. I'm tempted to make it a cover, but I don't want to
be
one of those. It's so great.
Right?
But I don't want to be the Marvel thing where I just keep on adding variants. So right now it's a print.
I hear you.
Yeah. Well, maybe it'll change in the future. We'll see.
Standy world map. Hey, push her over the stretch goals, and sky's the limit. As long as logistics, as long as logistics will let it happen. Rini, thank you so much for coming to hang out. I'm just gonna leave it right there on that awesome Dan Lawless print that you guys will all get. This has been a blast. I hope that we could talk about Fiendish 3 when I do a new book, or what's in the box for when I open Fiendish 2. Congratulations on all your success, and the badassness that is Fiendish. I want to thank all of you guys for hanging out in the chat with us, and tossing things in and interacting. Listen to the Wise Feline, like, share, subscribe, and join me in about 12 minutes with Ollie from 656 and a Comics GUI, where I will probably proceed to get a lot more drunk than I am now, knowing those guys.
Oh boy! All right.
Yeah.
Have fun over there. Thank you for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it, and we will see you guys later.